Hey everyone. One of the top questions that I get usually is if I can provide any type of guidance or instructions on how to draw, essentially. I've always had in the back of my mind the idea to try and do a couple of instructional videos and post online, see if they had any sort of traction, any sort of interest. It's usually one thing, people asking, and then actually people going and checking out what you have created, but that's a different conversation. So I decided to try and do a couple of instructional videos, see if everyone likes it, what's the reception really. Full transparency, this is not something that I've planned very much. Like everything that I do, I think on my social media, on my Instagram, on whatever, it's all very much unplanned. It's all very much spontaneous and off the cuff. So I'll do my best to be as informative as I can. I think I'll start with the basics. I'll start with an overview of materials that I use. That's usually also the best way to just reply to everyone who asks, what pen are you using? Not that it makes a difference, though I do think that the right material does make a difference in your enjoyment of drawing. That's very important. You need to enjoy it, otherwise it's not fun. I'll be using my regular camera for this. I'm not going to be using my phone camera, so it does include some additional hurdles. 99% of my content is recorded on my cell phones. This is so that I have everything on the palm of my hand for editing whenever I'm resting on the couch. So this is actually using my good camera that I usually use for trips. So also something different. I'll have to edit the video out using the computer. Yeah, we are going to start looking at materials, then some general tips and tricks. I think that's the best way to approach it. And then we are going to be discussing how is it that I approach drawing, because I think that's what people would like to know, and hopefully you can extract something from that. That's how usually I always did it. I have plenty of artists that I look up to, that I very much enjoy their work, and I very much enjoy looking at them drawing and seeing how they approach and address issues that they find while drawing. I think that's very important, that you yourself have the critical judgment and the perception to observe content, observe how the person that you look up to or that you like the style of drawing is approaching drawing, is approaching the problem, and how the person, he or she, addresses the problem. I think that's very much, it's very important, having that perception, that ability to see how people do it. And then you take bits and pieces from every artist that you like, and you develop your own style there in the process, or you just develop your style completely on your own, whatever works for you. There's really no rule. There's really no correct way of doing this, I think. Do what works for you, really. And yeah, this is just another way, my way of drawing. For context, which I think is also important, I'm not a full-time artist, far from it. I draw on my free time, and also I'm not art educated. I have no formal art training. I never went to any art school. So, for example, when talking about perspective, usually, most of the time, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So that's something that I do have sometimes a challenge of trying to explain to people. For anatomy, for example, I do have that academic training. So for me, I can actually provide, say, the names of whatever it is that I'm drawing, the muscles or the bone, whatever. But I also try to stray away from that and just refer to very simple things like the arms, the torso, the head. Where I stand right now, I don't think you need to memorize muscles or anything like that to be able to draw the human body comfortably. And then it also depends on your style, I think. For me, I don't really draw naked people or undressed people. So it's not like I need absolutely to know how to draw the human body, the folds, the bones, muscles, and how it contorts in every single way. Usually I draw my characters clothed in a very realistic, down-to-earth style. I try not to exaggerate features or make, for example, female characters very sexual or something like that. I try to make it very slice of life because it is, again, it is what I like to draw. I like to draw just slice of life scenes that I see. And you could be completely different. Again, you need to look at this that I'm providing and extract what is it that you need, right? What is it that you need? That's very much important. Yeah. First part, what is it that we're going to look? We're going to look at how, or rather, what materials do I use for drawing. So thanks for watching. Let's look at some art materials. Welcome to the section of the video where I talk about art materials, and I do have a lot to say on this section. It is actually a theme that I rather like to talk about. I do have a sizable, extensive collection of art supplies that I use. I do have favorites. I do have stuff that I gravitate towards, and stuff that not so much, as you probably can understand. You also have, I'm pretty sure you also have your favorites, right? So in this box here, I keep my current favorites, though they're all very much spread out across my currently very messy cabinet. And it's not a cabinet, right? But it's very messy, but I do have a sizable collection of art materials stored in here. Paper as well. Paper is also very important depending on the look that you are trying to achieve with your drawing. What is the technique that you are trying to use? But we will get to that in a bit. So let's start with the drawing supply box, or rather the material that I use: the pens, the brushes, the pencils, and everything in between. Let's get to it. So first part of my drawing instructions video is regarding drawing supplies, drawing materials, as this is very important to the course, let's say. I do have my recommendations and my ideas on this, so feel free to follow as you want. So here's my current bucket of stuff that I'm either using or I would like to use in the future. So I do have a piece of paper to try out, to demo out for you. So the first thing that we have is, so I barely use the Posca. That's the first thing. So let's just put the Posca on the side. I have a white Posca. It's actually to whenever we are cooking for our daughter, to mark the boxes where we are storing the food. So ignore that. We get to the Pentel brush pen, and the Pentel brush pen is my favorite brush. There's a multitude of, not a multitude, but there's a lot of variation in this brush pen, and even more so if you consider the variants that are only available in the Japanese domestic market. So I'll put a couple here on display for you so you to see. On this part of the instructional section, we're going to be talking about one of my favorites drawing instruments. It's the brush pen. Here you can see a wide variety of brush pens, and these are all from the Pentel brand. Pentel offers a wide variety of brush pens that you can purchase across multiple stores. At least here in Switzerland, it's quite common to find them. Portugal, where I come from, it's actually also very easy to find. And normally the brush pens that you do see at the stores here in Europe are these. Sorry, let me remove this one. Are these. So these that you can see here. Let me zoom in. Okay. These are the ones that you can very easily find at the store. Why do I say these are the most common here in Europe, at least? It's that Pentel also offers brush pens that are only available in the Japanese markets, at least in store. These are a good example. So for example, you have this orange one that has the orange body. I believe this one is used to correct, I might be completely wrong, but this one is used to correct the exams that kids make. So these ones are the ones that you can find in the Japanese market, as I was saying. This one used to correct exams, I believe. I believe this is one to correct exams. I mean, I don't recall if this one is waterproof or not. Then there is this one, which I really like this one. This is the super thin brush, because the regular sized one has a medium sized brush body. Or rather, let me take a step back. Pentel sells of these, they sell what is essentially this one, which is the thin, which is only available in the Japanese domestic market, at least to my knowledge. Then there is this one, the medium brush size. This one is the one that you can find very easily, at least in Europe, in art stores. And then there is the big body, the thick brush, big brush. This one is much more thick in the body, so you can do thicker lines or just go over a larger area. Then there is this one, also available only on the Japanese domestic market. This one in particular has a gray color. I don't recall what is the purpose of this one. I would have to read to look into it. And then there are these I believe at the time back in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, this one and this one. I remember, I might be incorrect, but from the meeting that I had with some of the Japanese Pentel colleagues, is that this one is for beginners, a bit like their first brush pen. I don't know how to describe the bristles or the brush tip. I think it's a regular sized, I mean, a bit smaller than a normal body, a bit shorter as well, so that's the main difference. But anyway, let's focus on the tools that you have available in Europe. So these, right? These come in a variety of colors. if I had to choose favorites, it would definitely be the black one that has the black ink, and the steel blue one. One additional thing to notice is that, and this is just a curiosity, maybe someone from Pentel can explain, but they have brushes that have the new body, which is this one, where the ridges are, not sure if you can see, there's less ridges to go around. And then there is this one. This is the old body, and there are more ridges. For my money, the old body is more comfortable to use, but that's just a preference. I'm sure there are people that prefer the old body, right? So this brush pen is actually the one that I have. The steel blue color is a very old brush pen that I have. It's been with me for a long time. Anyway, continuing on. Continue on with my box of current pens. You will see that I have a bunch of fine liners. These are from Faber-Castell. The thing with fine liners, and it's something that I've been using quite a lot, is that for me they really need to be comfortable to hold for an extended period of time. Otherwise it will hurt my wrist as I draw, so it needs to be comfortable. And I do find that in terms of comfort, and simply because I feel that the tip is incredible. I feel like right now the best fine liners are actually the ones from Copic. The Copic multi-liner SP. It's simply right now the perfect fine liner. It just hits every single note that I need in a fine liner. The ink is also quite nice, not too thick. So let's say you are starting to draw with a brush pen. My recommendation would be that you actually purchase one of the simple brush pens that you can find at, I'm going to assume, at a store. And my recommendation truly would be to start with a Pentel brush. With a Pentel brush that has the black body. Why is this? Pentel also offers from their selection brushes that have gray bodies. You can see here. The brushes that have a gray body, these are actually waterproof. So this is a waterproof variation of the brush pen. So you need to take into account that. And why is this important? The ink from the gray brush pen is of course waterproof, and waterproof, yes, it's waterproof. So it's a thicker ink. It's harder to manage, and the brush tip does get a bit dry quicker. That's important to say. This one, the ink is not waterproof, so it mixes with water. So of course you cannot think about simply just coloring your drawing, at least with watercolors. For example, alcohol markers like the ones that either Copic or like this one, the Touch alcohol markers from Shinha, they work perfectly. So these are options as well. But yeah, this one is non-waterproof. This one is waterproof, and the ink on this one, because it's non-waterproof, it's a bit more fluid. It's a bit easier to manage in your drawings. One additional thing that I really like about the non-waterproof version is that the ink, they have a subtle gradation. Even the gray, even the black, I mean, the black has a very subtle gradation into the gray. It's not pitch black. And you can use that to your advantage when you're drawing. So let's start with the main tools that I like to use when I'm drawing. And I'm going to put a couple of items here. These are the ones that I'm currently using for drawing, and I'll talk briefly about each one. First, we have the Pentel brush pen. This is in the black color, and this is the one that has the black body, medium-sized black body, because Pentel also offers one that is gray, a gray body. This one is waterproof. This is the non-waterproof version, and I prefer to use the non-waterproof version simply because I prefer the way the ink handles. So this one, the black, and I also keep a steel blue close to me at all times. I really like the steel blue as well. It's my favorite color. Yeah, but this is the black one. This is the steel blue. This is just the ink ring that I usually put here whenever I'm, it's to make sure that I can identify the brush that I'm currently using. Usually in new brushes, the red ink, the red cap is here to protect the ink from flowing from the barrel into the ink barrel. What else am I using lately? Very much so, the Copic SP multi-liner. This is the multi-liner that Copic has. In my opinion, it is the best one that exists, simply because of how comfortable it is to use. One thing that I really like in a pen is for the pen or the brush to allow me to use it at an angle. I don't like being forced to do this, like hold it vertically for the ink to flow. For me, it's much more comfortable on my wrist if the pen can be used sideways. Of course, it depends on what you prefer, right? But this, for me, the Copic multi-liner SP is the go-to multi-liner fine liner to use. I keep a pencil handy, or in this rather a mechanical pencil. I think this is the best of the best, the Pentel Graph Gear 1000. This is either aluminium or something. It's heavy. It's a heavy pencil, which I really like. Right now it doesn't have any lead on it, but super comfortable, and it's quite weighty as well. But I do keep one lighter one just in case I need or I forget to charge one. I have one in reserve. This is a Kokuyo thin, so I have a thin pencil, mechanical pencil, right? I'm rocking a HP lead, nothing too complicated. So yeah, 2 pencils, fine liners, brush pens. What is it that I also usually keep? Of course, I cannot forget about the eraser. This is very important. And also some masking tape. This is a thin masking tape. You can find it at most art stores. And also, I will keep one of these. This is a Pentel brush sign pen. I think this is the most complicated to use from Pentel's catalog of brushes, simply because it's a super thin brush that has a super thin stroke. So you need to be very confident with your skills in drawing, because anything that your hand does, it translates into the ink itself. Of course, you can do some wider strokes, but yeah, this is a very thin brush. I think this is their most advanced offer. It is complicated to use, I think, and I would love if Pentel were to somehow this brush tip and this brush body, simply because it's also, I feel this one is the most comfortable to hold for long periods of time. This one is a bit more harder to hold for a long time. But again, this is my opinion. This depends very much on your wrist, I think. So of course, do what works for you. This is very important. Last but not least, I also have with me my custom brush, the Olivia brush. You can see here, Olivia. This brush is no longer in production. It was a one-time only that I made available for purchase to whoever wanted. I sold every single copy that I had. I currently have around 15 Olivia brushes in my private reserve. This is a traditional Japanese brush. It doesn't have an ink barrel, so you need to extract ink either from an ink stone or have it handy from a bottle of ink. For my money, and of course this is biased, but for my money this is the best traditional brush that money can buy, really. Fully made to my specifications, I think. Yeah. I also keep with me a variety of random pens that I either purchase from stores or I receive from companies. This one I haven't drawn a whole lot with it, but I like the lines. This is a Pilot pen. It's not so much a brush pen, but a Pilot pen. A lot of brands, they have their own variety of brush pen. So this one is actually one from Pilot as well. My general rule of thumb is I do avoid brush pens that are not made in in Japan. I'm saying this because there were a couple of companies that in Europe that have made brush pens and they are usually terrible for the most part. Either the ink barrel is too runny or it's not bristles, it's felt instead of bristles. That's terrible. That's a sign for me that I need to get away from the pen itself. So for example, that was one from Pilot. It's a very good pen as well, brush pen. This one is one from Kuretake. This red one. This one is, yeah, this one the ink has dried, because this one the ink is waterproof. So there's that you need to take into consideration. But this one is actually a good option as well, but it really depends on if you like waterproof or non-waterproof pens. I keep one of these as well. I don't know the brand of this one, Jetstream 4-in-1. This is a ballpoint pen, super thin. The lines are very good. And it's something, like I said in my video and my comments a bit before, that you can hold it at an angle like this, and it's super comfortable to hold. And it has multiple colors just in case you need to switch it up. Quite nice. I really like this one. Jetstream 4-in-1 Mitsubishi pencil. So this is from Mitsubishi. Right, quite nice. I really like this one. I also keep a couple of alcohol markers with me. The good thing about the majority of these pens is that while they are not waterproof, they are resistant against alcohol markers, so you can color like so, and nothing will happen. So yeah, this is a brief overview of the materials that I'm currently using, but I do have a tremendous variety of materials at my disposal. I do rather like to collect drawing supplies. I could essentially be here all day just talking about drawing supplies.